Today we are taking a look at Gener8, which is a productivity workflow enhancer. This will speed up your content creation immeasurably. It'll also generate beautiful text on images, beautifully designed graphical text and wording. Now this is something that a lot of AI image generators struggle with, but it is also the difference between something that is just a pretty picture and something that's usable in business and content creation applications. Gener8, of course, is great for infographics, for memes, for song cover albums, ebook illustrations, logos, and so on. What I use this most for is actually generating ad creatives. This was the reason that I created Gener8 in the first place, is because ad creatives are one of those things that you need to create a lot of, you need to try a lot of. It takes a long time to usually create them, and Gener8 is able to crank them out at an incredible speed with incredible quality. For example, one of my shops sells crystals and crystal healing courses and that sort of thing, online courses. I've just developed an app and I'm able to create beautiful ads. Now these are not photos that I have taken with a camera, and this is not a sign that I wrote and put up. This is all generated within the Gener8 app, the text, the image, everything. But let's go ahead and get started, and I will show you how to use the app. I'm going to assume you already have an account. If you don't, just click on Get Started anywhere on the website. You'll be asked for an email login, or you can log in with Google. It only takes a few seconds to set up your account, and you will have access to 25 free tokens on the house to generate up some sample images. Now, let me show you the basic workflow for Gener8. Now, you can, of course, generate up images in the normal way just by typing in a text prompt, for example, a cat. You have a bunch of different styles to choose from. Hovering over any of the styles will pop up what that style generally looks like. The digital illustration category is just down a little bit lower, and the realistic photo category is just up above a little higher. There we go, we have a cat. Isn't that nice? Now let's assume that we want this cat to have something more on it. Let's say we want to do a meme or something like that. Actually, let's take it one step at a time. Let's say a cat saying hello, word bubble above his head, right? Anything that you put inside of quotes like this will be treated by Gener8 as something to generate up as words on your image. So keep that in mind. Anything in quotes comes up as words on the image. So I'm going to go ahead and click on Gener8 there. And while we're waiting for that to generate, let me just also point out that up here you can change the aspect ratio of your image from square to portrait to somewhere in between, 16 by 9, which is YouTube size, 9 by 16, which is of course like TikTok size or YouTube short size right there. You can also choose to generate 1 or 2 images at a time. Now this came out fairly general. That's because I didn't give it too much information. Let's assume that we want to come up with some more variations for that. And this is where Gener8 is going to start to really accelerate your workflow, right? So let's say that I want to come up with a bunch of more interesting, more cute, because this one came out kind of plain. Let's say I want to come up with some more interesting ideas. We need to enhance our prompt, right? So let me say, instead of down here, we're going to take this and we're going to put this up here instead. And what we're going to do is I'm going to request up to 8 ideas at the same time. I'm going to set what I want to be said in text as usual in quotes, and the rest is going to be kind of a general description to ChatGPT 4.0 for what sort of prompts we want it to help us to create. When I'm happy with what I've got here as my general base idea, I can go ahead and click on Super Prompt, and in a few seconds we will get 8 different ideas all generated up for us. Now what I can do is actually click Generate here, and all 8 of those ideas will be batch queued for generation. And let's take a look at some of the images that we've got generated up here. Quite a few interesting variations based on the super prompt. Helper assistant, I didn't really read through and take a look at what it was going to generate up, but that's the point. That is the point when using Gener8. It's fast iteration, coming up with all sorts of interesting ideas that maybe you didn't even think of just so quickly like that. Now, if I wanted to switch that over to a digital illustration type, I could actually reuse all of those same prompts again and see how they look in digital illustration. I could see how they look in black and white. And there we go. There's our black and white variations of the same prompts. And here's our illustrative style of the same prompt. Now, let's assume that you find something that you really like the prompt for. Let's say, actually, this is kind of a cool retro style. Let's assume I really like this. I can go ahead and I can save that to my favorites. And then from my favorite section over here, I can really easily click on reuse and that will take me back to the main page with the prompt that I used for that particular art style that I like plugged in, so I can go ahead and generate up a very similar image. I can modify it a little bit and generate up a variation of it, and so on and so forth. So it's just a quick and easy way to keep track of like the styles that you discover you like. And what you'll probably find is as you work with Gener8 more and more, you'll build up a list of favorite styles that you can go back to and reuse the prompts for over and over. What you'll also find is that Gener8 adheres to the prompts very well, so you won't get a lot of random variation like in terms of art style. When you're using a similar prompt, you'll get something very similar but in a different way, which is exactly what you want when it comes to refining your particular prompting library. Now, I also wanted to point out that in addition to the Super Prompt Helper, you can use your favorite AI assistant, and you can just feed it the information that Gener8 needs in order to batch create multiple different images. So for example, I'm telling SuperGrok here, using the format of image1: image description goes here, and anything in quotes will be treated as text on the image. Generate up 10 ideas for an ad for a workout studio. I don't know. Let's try something like that. Like I say, as long as the format is image1, image2, image3, and then you can just basically take all that, copy and paste that into Gener8. And in the same way that Super Prompt Helper works, this can also be used to generate up your batch of 10 images. Now, the nice thing about this is that you can actually work with your favorite AI assistant to iterate more. It's like, for example, no, I didn't like that art style. Maybe, make it a little more green or something, right? And then you can work with your AI assistant in the way that you would normally work with it, and you can take what it generates and you can just copy and paste that over into Gener8 as just a different workflow that might be useful in certain cases. In a lot of cases, the Super Prompt Helper will be exactly what you need. In other cases, you might want to have a little bit of back and forth with your favorite AI assistant. So just so you know, it can be done both ways. Gener8 is a power user's tool that is, of course, easy to use for the newcomer as well. Now, looks like I generated up some of the digital illustration style here for these non-specific workout studio ads. So there we go. So yeah, like I say, it's iterative. You play around, you generate, you batch queue stuff, and that's the whole point. Instead of the old format of copy paste back and forth from your AI editor and then into your favorite image generator and then into Canva to put on some clunky and awkward text, you can basically just do that with a few clicks. This saves over time a tremendous amount of effort, a tremendous amount of human efforting. This reduces what could take hours into a few seconds of generative, iterative, creative design work. Additionally, I wanted to mention one more thing here. This little magic wand icon, you might wonder what this is all about. This will basically take everything that you've got already and it'll do some variations of it. It'll kind of try to stick to what you've got already, but it'll make some modifications to what you've got there. So go ahead and re-roll that as many times as you like. And the difference between this and the Super Prompt Helper is that Super Prompt Helper will kind of start over each time with a fresh batch of ideas, whereas the Magic Wand Re-roller will take the existing ideas and it'll just sort of make variations of it. So just another handy little fast productivity workflow tool. Now we've got the realistic image style here. Anyway, let's see, what else am I missing? I think that might be everything. You can, of course, search your past prompts with the little search feature here. So if you're looking for something in particular and you remember a part of what the prompt says, you can just go ahead and click on a part of the word that you're looking for, and you'll get whatever you've created with those particular prompts. You can have a quick preview of the various different styles that you can generate with Gener8 here over as well. And generally speaking, I think I should probably mention one more thing, and that is the freedom and detail level, as well as the quantity level. I think I mentioned the quantity level. That's how many ideas the Super Prompt Helper comes up with, but what I didn't mention here is the freedom level. Now, when you're using the Super Prompt Helper, if you want it to say cat says hello exactly and nothing else, and if you want it to be really specific to in a green shirt, walking, whatever. If you want it to be quite specific to your base prompt, you can keep that on strict. Generally, I keep this on strict. If I want to get all sorts of different ideas, maybe even different words, for example, say you're coming up with a creative or a YouTube thumbnail or something like that, and you think, okay, you generally want it to be like a crystal healing, maybe like a crystal healing course, right? I know a little bit about crystal healing course. That's another one of my ecom businesses, so I kind of comes to the top of my mind when I'm thinking of examples. But say a crystal healing course that is suggestive, right? So if I punch that in with suggestive, it will not adhere to only talking about crystal healing course in text. For example, it's put in transform your life with our crystal healing course, right? So it's taken my base idea and it's come up with a bunch of different ways of thinking about that and presenting that particular base idea. If I wanted to say crystal healing course only every single time, I would make that strict. If I wanted it to be, like I say, more liberal and more creative, I set that to suggestive. And honestly, I've never used extreme. It's kind of like suggestive, but it could lead to unpredictable results. So be mindful if you're playing around with extreme. Generally, suggestive and strict are what you're going to want to use, but if you want some really crazy variations on your base prompt, you can go ahead and toggle that all the way up to extreme. Detailed and quick are almost the same. The only difference is how detailed the prompt comes out from super prompt. So if you got that down to quick, it'll actually generate the prompt up a little bit faster, almost indistinguishable, but the prompt information will be a little bit shorter if for any reason you want that detailed versus quick. Anyway, there we go. We've got some crystal healing course ideas with all sorts of text and calls to action that I didn't even think of. Like I said, I just punched in crystal healing course and I let Gener8 handle all the rest in terms of like ideas and generation for different concepts for different ads and that sort of thing. So that has been, I believe, yes, I think that is everything for the tutorial. And I've got more tutorials and use cases coming up, so stay tuned. I hope you guys enjoyed this video and enjoy using Gener8.